Welcome back to the show. This year has seen a massive increase in migrant apprehensions across the U.S. southern border. And while it's true across all 1,900 miles of the Border Patrol sector in Del Rio, Texas, has seen a markedly larger increase than many other sectors. So we decided to go there for ourselves and see what it's like in the Del Rio sector of that border, and quite honestly, how it impacts the local community there. Cheddar News' Megan Pratz has more for the fourth installment in our miniseries on the border.
We started this journey in Arizona, right in the middle of the Sonoran Desert and the border that cuts across that beautiful and brutal landscape. But when we landed in Texas, we weren't even prepared for what we faced, which was a completely different ecosystem, both in the landscape because of the river and the lush greenery, and in the migrant population. A lot of asylum seekers coming from countries like Venezuela and Cuba, completely different than what we saw in the desert. Here in the Del Rio sector, Border Patrol is facing a huge number of migrants every day crossing the river without as many resources as some of the other sectors. Still, they're making it work because they have a lot of their own resources from the community. Take a look.
Con familia. Ok, busque a su familia en esta fila. ¿Viene soltero? Va en la segunda línea para allá.
Overcast skies and the threat of rain didn't stop dozens of Venezuelan nationals from crossing the Rio Grande into Texas.
132?
132 here. And
There's still more coming.
Yes.
Everything must go. Shoelaces off, cords out of sweatshirts. Anything that could pose a security risk in immigration detention goes into large garbage bags as agents organize this group.
Oh, haven't been inputted? Okay.
Came in after.
Okay.
Migrants line up with passports in hand. This is one of the largest groups the Border Patrol for the Del Rio sector has seen lately, and they see large groups like this one every day. While Border Patrol apprehensions have been historically high in 2021, the Del Rio sector has seen one of the largest increases, with fewer resources than some of the other border regions.
So we are getting a higher volume, kind of similar to what the bigger sectors are getting. However, we're doing that with less manpower, at least half the manpower that the other sectors have.
The river runs the entire border here in West Texas. That means Border Patrol is often facing an ever-changing environment, as well as an ever-present criminal component on top of these routine crossings. So far in 2021, the Del Rio sector has apprehended nearly 90 convicted sex offenders, compared to 6 in 2020. There has been an increase in human smuggling cases and the number of suspected migrants that fail to yield to law enforcement.
They're trying to go above and beyond to try and to avoid detection. Not like our family units that are, coming to our border. They're just waiting for us to pick them up. These are individuals that do not want to get picked up, that want to avoid detection. So we've seen an increase in that. Del Rio sector this year has already been involved in an active shooting during one of these failure to yields.
So the Border Patrol agents rely on help from local law enforcement partners. This couple from Cuba, who just crossed the river, faced Texas State Highway Patrol before Border Patrol could take over.
It takes a lot of agents to kind of transport and get a group of 155 migrants on buses, right? So that actually takes them away from their normal duties of patrolling the border. Because of that, we have partnered with our local law enforcement, which has been our sheriff, local PD, DPS, and they're actually helping us along the border as well.
The elected sheriff of Valverde County, right in the heart of the Del Rio sector, is Joe Frank Martinez. Sheriff Martinez represents the local law enforcement interests of the citizens here. That means helping with immigrant apprehension on top of local patrol.
If I got 4 deputies working per shift, I might have to sacrifice 2 deputies doing basically immigration work, helping our federal partners, while I got 2 of the deputies serving our citizens. I like to keep both our colonias, our 3 colonias safe, and the only way I can do that is with law enforcement presence in those communities. If they're not there, if they're along the border, then I can't do that. I can't really do that.
The sheriff and his deputies encounter migrants every day, just like Border Patrol. The reasons for crossing may differ, but the theme remains relatively consistent.
People are looking for a better way of life, and you can't blame them for that.
On our ride with the sheriff, we visit Del Rio's border wall. In his view, it's unnecessary.
So this structure that's here behind us, this was the original fence that has been removed to be replaced by this structure here. This right here did its job in routing people around our community and prevented people from just dashing across and getting into our residential and industrial areas and hiding and, you know, burglarizing homes or whatever their intent was. So this fence, in my opinion, did the job. Not that it can't be climbed over or anything like that, but it was effective for us. They weren't building a wall, they were just replacing a 2-mile structure that was effective.
Sheriff Martinez said no one asked him if a new wall was needed. He would have said no. But that's a pervasive theme here. Decision makers don't know what life along the border is actually like.
But until you understand how complex the problem is, you know, you can't make that determination from New York or Washington, D.C. or Arkansas. You got to literally set foot here in Valverde County.
That disconnect also leads to some major misconceptions about Border Patrol and life here along the border. Agents like Anaya want to make it clear, border security here in Del Rio affects everyone, everywhere.
Whatever happens here in the border, whoever enters in our border, they're not here to stay. They don't stay in Del Rio, they don't stay in Eagle Pass, they don't stay in Carrizo Springs. They're going to the interior of our country. So that affects each and every one of us because the problem does not stay here. The problem goes to a city near you.
One of the things we heard repeatedly from people along the border is that they just don't feel like anyone up here in Washington is listening to them. They feel like decisions are being made without anyone coming to the border. And the people don't realize how far-reaching the U.S. border with Mexico actually is, that things don't stop down there in Texas and Arizona and New Mexico and California. They come all the way into the country, all over the country. And that means that everyone has a stake in the border crisis.